sense to leave it all behind. Raise your voice, raise your power, yeah.
What is up guys, this is Tito back with another video, and today I'm quite excited because I built a PC. And this is because of the 5600X, and I was quite excited about Zen 3. So that is why I got this CPU. And if you ask me about the price to performance value for money kind of thing, 5600X is not quite one of them, but it's kind of like that. I would say because of the amazing single core performance, I bought it. And in India it is really expensive. If you look at Amazon, it's going above 30,000 almost, and in MD computers it's listed at 27,128 rupees I guess, but you cannot simply buy it. It shows notify me. There is no buy now option in MD computers. So that's why I built this PC from a local shop. Actually, I did not build it myself, but yeah, all the components I chose over here. And if you're here to see the 5600X review or something, this is not something like that. If you really want to watch the 5600X's review, watch the hardware unboxed video of the 5600X's review, or kind of like benchmarks video of that, and he really explained why this CPU matters. And you can see that video from the card right there, of course. And I will say that this is a really great CPU in terms of my first impressions. And if you're wondering about the build, what components do I have over here? Well, first let's start with the case. I have always wanted this 200mm fan, so that's why I went with the NX800, the Antec NX800 about the case. And the motherboard over here, I went with this one. If you can see it, I hope you can see it behind the box over there. This is the B550 Aorus Pro AC motherboard, and really I was aiming at the Tomahawk, the B550 Tomahawk motherboard, but then I saw it has 5 USB ports on the back side. So yeah, I have been using a Gigabyte H110M S2 for the i5-7400, which I have been using. That only had 5 USB ports at the back, and I have had really bad experience with those, only 5 USB ports. I need more USB ports, so that is why I went with this one. I think this motherboard over here has almost 11 USB ports. That is just insane. I think 11 or 12, I don't remember. You can see it from the screen. I'll put a PNG or something over here. So yeah, these are pretty much a huge amount of USB ports. That is, there also a type C is there on this motherboard. And I chose this motherboard because again, I saw hardware unboxed video of this motherboard and other motherboards, VRM and stuff. This was pretty decent. Yes, the Tomahawk does beat it. The B550 Tomahawk does beat it a little bit. But yeah, this is not bad at all. And this motherboard actually has a lot of features like those USB ports and stuff. Almost forgot to mention that this motherboard also has this kind of antenna. This is because this motherboard also has Wi-Fi, the AC band Wi-Fi, and also this has Bluetooth. So that is a really great thing that I forgot to mention, that if you are someone who does not have an Ethernet port long enough, so you want to use Wi-Fi or something, you can definitely use this AC Wi-Fi with this motherboard. And if you're buying Zen 3, I thought about mentioning this point because I have faced this issue. If your motherboard has this AGESA code 1.0.8.1 or 1.0.8.0 BIOS that supports Ryzen 5000, but that's just a beginning of the support for the Ryzen 5000 series, and that gave me really huge problems. I had to install or fresh install Windows for about 4 times. Still I could not fix the issue. So I thought, what's the issue? This F10 BIOS was giving me really huge issues, and that is based on this AGESA code 1.0.8.1, but it had weird bugs, whenever I'm putting the PC to sleep, or even I'm restarting the PC, or even if I put the PC to shutdown mode from Windows power options, of course, if I do that, the PC just the monitors turns off, then the PC's fans and the CPU fan, everything stays on. The PC was not shutting down properly. Then I updated the BIOS to this AGESA code 1.1.0.0C. So here I have updated my BIOS to F11D. So after that I do not have any issues, but just thought about mentioning it, that you might have BIOS issues. So make sure that you are flashing a BIOS which is based on AGISA code 1.1.0.0c. The motherboard has like two NVMe slots, I guess. One of them is of course PCI Gen 4, and you can install PCI Gen 4 SSDs if you want to. But here I have installed a Kingston A2000, which is a NVMe. This almost gets me about 2000 Mbps here and there, read and write both. So that is not bad at all. And here this 500 GB NVMe cost me around 5,546, which is quite expensive if you look at the price of Amazon. But yeah, this is local shop's price, so that's how it is. I think this is the only component that has been like pretty expensive on the like local shop. Other than that, the Ryzen 5 5600X of course did cost me about 28,320 rupees, which is the most expensive part of this build right here. And the cabinet cost me around 6,608 rupees. And this motherboard over here, which I am using, this B550 Aorus Pro AC motherboard, this one is about 17,464. On Amazon I think it's 18,600 or something, so 1,000 rupees more there. So you can check all the things. If you really want to buy them from Amazon, you can definitely do that. Check the description below for the links. So that's pretty much it that I have bought for this build particularly. Other than that, I have already had some components which I am using over here, like the Corsair VS550, which I am using as the power supply that I had, and I'm still using it, no problems so far. And the power supply is great, it's still working great. If you wanna buy that, definitely link below. I think they stopped the VS550 kind of series. There is right now VS500 and 600, so yeah, I'll list them below, don't worry. And as far as the GPU goes, of course I have been using the GTX 1070, and on this build too I have installed the GTX 1070, the Zotac GTX 1070 mini that I have been using. Has 8 GB of GDDR5 RAM, I mean video RAM. And yeah, the GTX 1070 is still holding up well, gives pretty good FPS. So let me actually show you the gaming benchmarks right now. So first up, I'll show you ARMA 3, a game which has launched back in 2013, and I still feel this is a really great game. You can see what settings I am on right now. As you can see, everything is ultra except shadows. And yeah, now let me actually show you the gameplay. And while you are watching the gameplay, let me actually tell you about this game a little bit. That back in the day, you really need an Intel CPU like overclock to 4.9 or 5 GHz to actually play this game on more than 60 FPS with high settings. And if you are playing King of the Hill, which is called Koth, and in the AO, it really drops the FPS, and currently this is the FPS I am getting in King of the Hill or Koth. Next is of course GTA 5, because why not? And you can see the settings over here, almost everything is on very high, and ultra over here. So I ran a simple benchmark test of GTA 5. So mostly I would say the game stays 100 plus FPS, but definitely at some point it even like reaches 170 and stuff, but at like the lowest point it definitely drops the FPS up to 90 and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely average, you can say 100 and like 30-40 FPS if you calculate the average. Now next up is PUBG PC, and here you can see the settings, everything is ultra, and I have of course VSync turned off. and other things the motion blur is turned off. So right now let me actually show you by playing a TDM, and as you can see here I'm getting 90 to 100 FPS or at some points like more than 100. And yeah, PUBG is not a problem here and it is really working great. The game which will run even on a potato today, that is Valorant. And here you can see the graphics quality settings, everything is set to high, and I have the FPS limits turned off. And here I have NVIDIA Reflex and it is set to on plus boost, and with that, as you can see in game, I am getting about 400 or 300 plus FPS almost all the time. And yeah, you can just watch the gameplay, almost 300 FPS all the time. And almost forgot to talk about the RAM, and here I have been using one ADATA XPG, this D30, Gamix D30 or something. This is a 3000 MHz stick and this is a 16 GB stick which I have been using. So I have installed one and I have got another one like this just came today. So yeah, this same stick I have been using for like a very long time and I did not have any issues. So that is why I got the same stick over here. So I have installed both of them on the motherboard and yeah, those are working fine. So right now I have 32 gigs of RAM in this PC, which is quite sufficient. Even if I want to do video editing or gaming, I think 32 GB is gonna be pretty much enough. Even if you do 4K video editing, I would say 32 GB of RAM will be almost sufficient. But yeah, you never know, you might need even more RAM. If you wanna like open 1000 tabs in Chrome, definitely you need more RAM. And one more thing which I have been like researching about this NX800 case, and I could not find the answer, but when I did find, I thought yeah, that might be the case. These RGB on these like 200mm fans, and even there is a 140mm fan pre-installed over here. I did not install any separate like fans over here. So here these RGB that you are noticing, you cannot control it through any software, I think. And I asked some people, they said that you cannot control these through like some motherboard header or something. Here there is a button, of course, to control the RGB, and if you press it, there are a few modes as you can see. And yeah, that's like how much modes you get over here. I think there are plenty of modes, like more than 15 to 20 modes I think about these colors, and you can definitely change your mood depending on these colors, definitely. But they are not something like to say that you control with the motherboard. They are not that smart of RGB light. But yeah, these are definitely good RGB lights. As you can see, you can put them on single color. Right now it's green, blue, and I think it's yellow. then again a sky kind of blue, and then we have this pink color. Now we have orange, then white, then right now this circling red, circling green, circling blue, and this white. Then there is this like circling rainbow kind of color over here, not quite rainbow, it like circles between different colors particularly, so looks quite good. And as you can see, this mode definitely looks really awesome. And again we are back into that red green kind of circles. So these are all the modes that are there, but you cannot control them through your motherboard. This is my new gaming PC, and yep, you can call it a editing PC too. And I have tested a couple of things, and the Premiere Pro right now supports like the hardware encoding with the NVIDIA's GPUs, and also AMD's GPUs do support it right now, I think. So you should not be worried about video editing on this PC at all if you are getting the 5600X. And even while I'm editing on DaVinci Resolve, again all the benchmarks you can see on the like hardware unboxed video again from the card right there. So if you're really into those kind of heavy kind of benchmarks, you can watch that video. But all I'm saying here, the 5600X. Right now let me just hold the box, because I was really excited for this thing for a really long time. ZEN3 in my hands. I'm pretty happy about that. And I would say yes, for a 6-core 12-thread CPU, if you are paying 28,500 for this 6-core 12-thread, you might say that, bro, you're stupid. Just go with the 3700X. Yeah, I know the 3700X is 8-core 16 threads, and that is a lot, but still that's not like ZEN3. That's ZEN2. The single core performance is really like, if you compare it with this one, I think it's about like 25% lower in single core performance. So in gaming, or even in some softwares like Photoshop and stuff, even in Premiere, maybe the 3700X will be better in long term, but definitely this is not a bad CPU at all, and it's beating the i9-10900K in like some cases where there is single core involved. So let me show you some like normal benchmarks over here about this CPU. Let's look at the Cinebench R20 single core score of this 5600X. 608 points. The closest I could find is the i9-10900KF. Look at the scores to the right of the screen. The KF and the K, then 10850K, 3950X, then 10900F, 10900, 10700KF. Everything is scoring below 539 or 540, and then if you compare it with the i7-10700K, it scores about 524, whereas this 5600X scoring about 608 points in Cinebench R20 in single core, of course, which is huge. Then if I look at the Cinebench R20 multi-core score, as you can see, this 5600X scored about 4413 points. Then if you compare it to the other CPUs, as you can see from the right, I just took a screenshot of this, and as you can see, this i7-9700K is scoring about 3656, i7-9700 as it is showing here 3644. Then as you can see, the i5-10600K, which is closer to the price of this 5600X actually, that is scoring about 3629, which is about 1000 points less than this like 5600X. And even if you compare the 9700K, which is the 8-core 16-thread part, is scoring almost 1000 points below of this 5600X, even in multi-threading, which is like amazing. And you can take a look at the Geekbench 5 score that I got. In single core, it got about 1620 points, and in multi-core, it is crossing 8671 points. Well, if you have any PC, you can do a Geekbench 5 test, and you can compare how much faster the 5600X is from your CPU. Then if you take a look at the CPU Z benchmarks, here I just did a bench CPU kind of thing, and with this processor's kind of single core or single thread performance, it shows as 642.7 points on average. And as you can see, I have compared it with the i7-10700, and that scores about 568 points, which is again lower than the 5600X in single core. So that's just impressive. And here in multi-threading, of course, the 5600X gets beaten by the 10700. What do I think about this 5600X build over here that I have been using for 2 days? Yes, this is not the best value king that you're gonna get, but if you are excited about Zen 3 and if you are someone who is willing to pay for it and not in that much of a restricted budget, like under 20,000, or if you even are like on that budget, I would say just wait for the 5600, the non-X variant. That would be really good. And yeah, this is by far till date the best 6-core 12-thread CPU in the market right now, at least as of now. So that's how it is. That's how I feel about this build. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. This is Tito from KDN Tech signing off for today. I'll be catching you guys in the next one. Bye bye now.